major nuclear sites in Iran. 2 decoy bombers flew to Guam, while the real B-2 bombers traveled east undetected, catching Tehran completely off guard. It involved 125 Air Force pilots and planes. Fox News senior strategic analyst, retired 4-star General Jack Keane, joins us now. General, we kind of wait and watch to see what Iran's going to do. They said this gambler Trump may start this war. We will finish it.
Yeah, well, just think we're in such a better place as a result of the attack than what we were before it. And I think when you look at this, is this going to end at a negotiating table, or is this going to end on a battlefield? And Iran, they've got to go through a couple of things. One, I think the status of the damage and the nuclear enterprise is a factor in their decision-making, in my view. Also, they're on their own time schedule. And we're kind of getting into the crouch and getting ready for an attack. But they may take their time. This is their time schedule. And I think when you look at the options they have in front of them, one is to come to the negotiating table. And if they did that, the Trump administration is going to insist on what they never did before. They would have to voluntarily dismantle whatever is remaining of the nuclear sites, verify that with independent inspections. But I think the Trump team would put much more on the negotiating table in terms of guarantees for the future. Complete dismantlement of their entire ballistic missile infrastructure. This is manufacturing centers, supply chain, the launchers, the stockpile, whatever they have left. And then the other thing is that would provide us an opportunity to stop supporting proxies, period. This is over. You're not going to support proxies anymore in the region if you want this kind of a deal. And the last thing is, not only are you not going to support it, but you're going to stop your malign and aggressive behavior. In other words, you're going to change your behavior completely in the region. And then, and only then, will we insist on a ceasefire. And then and only then would we put on the table sanctions relief, which is something they would want. So go ahead.
I mean, that is the deal. And when it comes to time, do you think there's pressure on them to show that they do have a pulse? Because even their surrogates are doubting whether it's worth their while to defend the mothership, Iran. And when it comes to the JCPOA, when some people keep saying if we didn't tear up the JCPOA, that allowed those ballistic missiles to still be manufactured and used. There was no attention to that at all. And the proxies, I don't see them ever shutting off the proxies. That seems to be their lifeblood.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things. First of all, the JCPOA, they allowed them to have a threshold capability, which is close to 90% weaponization in 2025. That's this year. In 2030, they allowed them to have as many nuclear weapons as they wanted. That is, and people forget this. This is why we walked away from the deal. The deal was supposed to prevent them having nuclear weapons, and the deal permitted them to have nuclear weapons. And that is why President Trump tore the deal up. Here's the other options that are remaining for them. They could just continue to fight with Israel. Their ballistic missile supplies are dwindling. You can see there's been minimal attacks on Israel in the last 48 hours. But they could continue that. No attack on the United States, no attack on Arabs in the region. They could do a limited but symbolic thing to deal with what you're suggesting. There's humiliation among the elites and the power structure. People, 80% of them.
The ones that are still alive.
The people are trying to survive Israeli attacks and the rest of it. That's where their primary focus is. But when they have time, they're going to be delighted the fact that this regime may be on its last steps. And then the next option, and in that limited response, it was very similar. They could do something similar to what happened post-Qasem Soleimani. Iraq and Syria, we have bases there very close to Iran. They can move rockets and missiles over there, and the militia could take care of it, or they could attack themselves with some ballistic missiles, which is what they did. Post-Qasem Soleimani is about 16 to 20 ballistic missiles, limited response. Or they could come. Their last option is an unrestrained consequential attack on the United States. Could be homeland, could be bases, could be other assets in the region. And do they include the Arab states, which they said they would?
Now, if they do that last option, what would America's response be?
It would be very massive. And I'm absolutely convinced, Brian, that the administration has told them in no uncertain terms, if you attack the United States and do harm to us, then everything is on the table. Every target in your country is on the table. And now let's assume most of the nuclear enterprise is gone, the ballistic missiles. We would finish off whatever needs to be finished off with those two targets, whatever needs to be done with the military. And I believe the civilian leadership targets would be on the table. And I believe they've been told that.
And if they want any economy left, oil and gas really not touched? If we destroy the oil fields and gas, they're done.
That was my omission. Oil and gas would absolutely be a primary target.
Fascinating time. General, thanks so much. Appreciate it. We'll see how this unfolds. We did report earlier that there was a shelter-in-place order at the U.S. Embassy in Qatar, and we'll follow that. Thanks, General.
Yeah, great talking.
Absolutely.